Just finished my monthly bookkeeping call just a few minutes ago, and I just want to reflect on some of the things I've learned, some of the things that you should be aware of when you're running a business. And at the end of the day, I hate numbers. That's why I hire somebody to help me with it. Let's get into it.
This isn't just any podcast. This is your secret weapon for dominating the market.
This is the Restoration Marketing Secrets Podcast, and this is your host, Sean McMean.
Hello, everybody. This is Sean McMean from Restoration Marketing Secrets Podcast. This is episode 41, and today we're going to talk about some numbers. As I just said in the beginning of this podcast, I just met with my bookkeeper, and I said I hate numbers. Well, honestly, I hate numbers that I don't know, or I can't project where things are at. And so as running a business myself that helps restoration contractors get better results, and obviously this podcast, I want to share that experience with you about hiring a bookkeeper, knowing your numbers, and then being able to, with those numbers, project what the future looks like. So if you're not interested in numbers, you hate bookkeeping, you hate all of those things, you're not alone. It's not my thing. But what I've realized over the years running a business is that if you don't know the numbers, you're flying by the seat of your pants and you're going to burn yourself. It's very easy to spend a lot of money as running a business, but not understand where it's going, or whether you're actually making money, whether you're just trading dollars. If you don't have a good handle on it, man, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble, and it can be scary. I can tell you that from experience, because I used to do my own books. I used to do my own QuickBooks accounting, do all of those things, because I was like, it's only a couple $100 a month to pay somebody, but I can do it myself, right? And I am the worst person to be doing that, because I am an entrepreneur. I am a quick starter, bad finisher, bad follow through. Okay, that's why I hire amazing people on my team or vendors or software vendors that help me be a better person, right, or be a better business owner and entrepreneur. And so we all have to recognize those weaknesses. And for me, it's the financial numbers. It just is. I will purposely not pay attention to it because I don't want to know. And it sounds horrible as a business owner, but a lot of us are in that same situation. We just go about our business and we know we're making money, and it's like a job instead of running a business. And that is not why I started a business. Maybe that's why you started a business, is because, hey, you started a business because you know you could do something and you didn't want to work for somebody else, right? But at the end of the day, most people want to make money as well, and not just trade dollars for dollars. You want to make money off of the business. And so by having a bookkeeper, it takes that off of your plate, and it's truly not that expensive. I can tell you that it has paid for itself 10-fold. I don't even know what fold, right? Again, I'm not a numbers person, but it has been a godsend, because I would try to do it myself and I would always be behind. So I would, obviously bookkeeping is a lagging indicator because you've already done that, but you have to understand like what you have put yourself through that month, and you have to set up QuickBooks or Xero or whatever software you have to understand where those expenses are going, and have a understanding what you're going to be in the future. So what we do is we look at our P&L, profit and loss statement within QuickBooks, and we categorize for our specific business. We categorize, which would be similar to you, cost of services or cost of doing the work, right? And then you've got your internal expenses, and at the end of the day, then you have your net income. Right. Again, I am not a financial expert. I'm actually going to be interviewing somebody on the podcast coming up soon. But the call that the bookkeeper that I have, we have a monthly call at the end of the month, and we go over everything. We look at the P&L statement, the profit and loss statement, and say, okay, what did we expend on labor and services and software and things like that for our specific business to fulfill for our clients? Ahead of that is what was your income? what was your cost? Then that's what you look at. So that cost of services, cost of fulfillment, or cost of doing work is looked at first, right? And so for my business specifically, I've got labor, I've got software expenses, and that's mainly the two big pieces there. So for us home service contractors, right, you're going to have labor. That's always going to be your biggest expense, biggest expense. Plus, you're going to have things like, doing the actual work and materials and all of those types of things that go into that line item, right? Then you have your general business expenses that are not equated with any client work, such as, your company truck or your insurances or things like that are not equated to a specific job or things that are going on that for a specific job, but just general expenses, right? And so we look at those. That's usually the black hole of things is or maybe the red hole if you want to look at it as a negative. A lot of things get floated into that general business expense, and sometimes personal things cross over into that realm, and so you have to be cognizant of it, right? If you obviously have tax rules and everything that you need to follow. And sometimes there's some gray areas there. Sometimes there's not. Sometimes you have a company car and you're not using it as much as for the business as you're using it for personal things. So to each his own in those areas. I'm not judging anybody, but I'm just saying, like, you need to be able to breaking up your cost of fulfillment or cost of doing the job versus your internal expenses, so you can understand where things are going and categorizing those in such a way that any sort of big category. So for instance, your health insurance or your car insurance or your car payments that go equating to the business. Those are all looked at on a monthly basis to make sure that, you're recognizing trends and big fluctuations or anything like that and why it fluctuated. And so once you look at that profit and loss statement, it gives you a really good, it's a lagging indicator again, a really good idea of where your money is going. And you can evaluate, hey, this was something that we don't necessarily need, and next time we're not going to do that. Then you will look at your balance statement, right? What are the balances of your credit cards, of your bank's statements, those types of things. And so that will help you do that. Again, I am not a financial expert, so I will interview somebody bring somebody on that actually has this expertise in what you should be focusing on. One of the really good things that we've created recently for our business is a projection. So based on our previous 6 months, we're looking at, your net income, all your income that's coming in, your expenses out for operations, and then putting in place like what our projections are for the next 6 months. Like if we do, like for instance, if you have water damage restoration business and you typically are doing 6 jobs a month and on average that's $6,000, you're going to project based on what your income was last month. Like, are you going to be the same or are you going to be up, right? And so put in all those projections and it'll give you a better understanding of, what the income is coming in. And then ideally you're trying to increase that, right? But then you also want to look at cash out and what your operations cash out is. So what are your labor costs? What are your expenses? Are you going to be hiring people? And put those in there as a projection. And again, we will do a podcast that talks about this more in depth. But my point of doing this podcast is that you have to work with somebody that is an expert in a field, but you have to be cognizant of the cost, right? And so if you have a local accountant, a local bookkeeper, make sure you're meeting with them on a regular basis and not just skimming over a report, or worse yet, you're trying to do the books yourself. It is worth a couple $100 to try to hire somebody to do your books for you. And they're not going to judge you. They're just going to make sure that, I think maybe that was one of the things I held back. Oh, they're going to judge me and that I shouldn't have expensed that, or, whatever that may be, right? They're going to help you make sure you follow the rules and you don't get yourself in trouble. And the worst thing is the unknown. That is the worst thing. If you're waiting to the end of the year to do your books, wow, I've been there, and it is painful to realize, oh crap, I got a huge tax bill and I wasn't expecting it. Or, trying to sit there and do all that in one setting is a disaster. Nobody loves to pay taxes. Nobody loves to pay taxes at all. But trying to do that at the end of the year or every 6 months, it's not a very good use of your time, because you need to be out growing your business, networking with people, and your team to be able to increase revenue at the end of the day. Sales solves a lot of problems, but if you don't know that's where your sales are at and whether your expenses are overtaking your sales, and you live out of your checking account, that is the worst area to be, is living out of your checking account and saying, okay, I got money in there. Well, what about the future? Like, what's coming up that you don't realize is coming up? Or, those projections, to be able to understand, unforeseen things. And then if you're living out of the checkbook, man, it is such a relief when you hire somebody to give you a very good understanding of your books. And so that's what I want to leave with you today, is that if you do not currently have a bookkeeper that you work with, whether it's a local person or whether you go online, if you use QuickBooks, they've got some consulting services through there. Please do yourself a favor and get that off of your plate. If you're a larger company and you have somebody internally that does that, you need to be reviewing it on a monthly basis, whether it's internally or you're using external service. Because as a business owner, you have to know those numbers. You don't have to love it. You don't have to like it, but you got to know it. Because at the end of the day, you're in business to make money and have freedom and flexibility for you and your family and all of those things. And if you have employees, you want to do right by them by knowing your numbers, so that way you don't risk their livelihoods as well, right? So, again, I'll get off my soapbox here, but I want to share kind of what I do as a business owner and entrepreneur that hates looking at numbers. I say hates, but I hate worse not knowing the numbers or not having visibility into it. So if that makes sense. So make sure that if you take anything out of this episode, work with a bookkeeper. If you have a bookkeeper already, make sure you're meeting on a monthly basis, looking at your P&Ls, your profit loss statements, your balance sheet, your income statements, all of those things. So that way you are not flying blind and risking running into a wall that causes you pain that you could prevent by knowing the numbers. Okay? So that is it for this episode. This is Sean with Restoration Marketing Secrets. Hope you got some value in this episode. I will talk to you next time.
You've been listening to the Restoration Marketing Secrets Podcast. Sean's not here to just talk the talk. He's walked the walk. With a track record of helping over 70 damage restoration companies and engaging in over 500 conversations with industry owners, he's seen it all. From digital marketing triumphs to the most ingenious growth hacks, he's got the keys to the kingdom, and he's sharing them with you. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, for more, hit the website at restorationmarketing.com. See you next time on the Restoration Marketing Secrets Podcast.